everybody. I'm Steph.
I'm Michael.
Today we're checking out Ahau.
Rulers of Yucatan.
I think I said it right.
Ahau. This is by. I actually have an easier time pronouncing the name of the game than the name of the publisher. Apiron, Apiron. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce it. Games, but it was given to us by Grand Gamers Guild.
Yeah, so I think it's distributing it for the US. So
Yes.
at least, yeah.
So, this game is for 1 to 5 players and has a box runtime of 90 to 120 minutes. So let's take a look at this game. So this game is sort of a draft, slight conflict, slight area majority sort of game.
Yeah, there's definitely area control in this.
Yes. At the start of the game, you're going to choose one side of the map or the other based on player count. This is the 2 to 3 player side. The 4 to 5 player side on the other side of the board has a sixth region in the middle. They're distributed a little bit differently. Um, you will choose a starting player. They will place their disc first here. Everyone else, in turn order, will place their disc on top of the other discs on the might track. Everyone will also have a starting pyramid, and they will choose to play the day side or the night side. And the rules recommend the first time you play to play it on the day side. Everybody gets a weapons token. It goes on the 0 space. And then you're going to put all of the hex tiles onto city spots. You're going to put out 2 building tiles. You're going to put out 2 of these god tiles onto each of the regions. You're going to put 1 building tile into each region and 1 of the production tiles onto each of the spaces in between 2 cities. A pair of cities is connected if it has a dotted line or a solid line between the cities. You'll notice there are only 5 regions on this side: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So, um, the start player will then choose one of these player aid cards. Notice each one has a little bit different starting resources on them. And each of these cards will have a different starting pyramid tile. You want to take all of these out of the game before you distribute all of the other ones around the map in each of these regions. So you'll notice that this tile has a godhead in the middle of it, and all of the starting ones are wild tiles, meaning there's all the colors on them. Normally, you're going to have a godhead and a single color tile, but that's not always true. There are some that are not the starting tiles that are also wild tiles. I believe there are 5 different gods in this game. So, starting with the starting player is going to choose one, take the uh, god tile and the starting resources that are on the card. Now, one thing that is super important to note: the brown is actually this purplish looking color. So keep that in mind when you are playing. You'll often see the brown cube come up. And if you're like um, me and Steph, you will say, "What is this brown tile?" Oh, that's the purple. And so we have to really make note of that. There is also black and blue. Is that all of the resources, Steph? 5 different
Yeah,
colors.
there's five. There's five.
So in a 2 player game, you're going to have one of these, the 2 or 3 player game, you're going to have one of these discs left over at the end, and it will go up on the top up here on the first space of the calendar track. So, um, make sure I don't leave anything out. So, each of the hexes represents a city. For example, Palenque or Tikal. Hey, you might notice a lot of board game names in here. Um, you will also see various regions, obviously region 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Um, the 5 different resources, let's see. The brownish purple is cacao. Yellow is corn, black is obsidian, white is limestone, and blue is water. Um, each of these resources corresponds to one of these production site tiles. Um, each round consists of a movement phase and an action phase. So during the movement phase, uh, Steph and I each have cards from 1 to 6, and we're going to play one card down to the left of our player board and one to the right. Now we don't really have enough room to do that. We will just know which one is the left-hand card and which is the right. The left-hand card indicates which region you are going to put your guy in, your little warrior token, and the right-hand side is going to contribute to the strength if for some reason conflicts occur. So you'll notice that there is a 6 card even in a 2 or 3 player game. You're not going to want to use the 6 card on the left hand side. Um, I believe I can't quite remember, but I think if you put a 6 over on the left hand side, I believe you just swap them back.
Yeah,
Can't
you can never use a 6 in our player game.
in a 2 or 3 player game
Right.
because there's not a number 6 region.
Right, yeah.
So, if multiple players now have, so the warrior is a ruler. So if I chose region 5 and you chose region 5, we're going to go both there. A conflict is triggered. So we're going to determine each involved player's military strength. So you're going to add the number on your right hand card to the number of weapons that you have. So let's say that I played 3 and Steph played a 4 or a 6 for her right hand side. She's going to kick me out of that region. Now, the winner of a conflict may advance their marker 1 space on the might track. Whenever you advance on the might track, you're going to gain whatever reward is shown on that space. If there are other markers there, you're just going to put your marker on top of the other ones in that space. Whenever a player loses a conflict, they gain a weapon. However, they have to move their ruler. So I can move to any of these adjacent regions. And in a 2 player game, everything is adjacent to number 5. So that's sort of cool. Let's say I move down here to number 4.
And it also has to be an empty region.
Yes. Yeah, if for some reason another player were over here, I could not retreat to that region. If all adjacent regions are already occupied by rulers, let's say that this conflict happened down here instead, and 5 and 3 had rulers in them, then I get to move to wherever I want.
Yeah.
In all cases, if there is a tie for military strength, you're going to go with whichever one is highest on the might track. Here, Steph is clearly higher on the might track. However, here she's also higher on the might track because she's higher above me on that space.
Yep.
Then finally, so let's go ahead and let's say we did number 4 and you kicked me out to region 5. We're going to do that.
Sure.
Then each player will select one of the 2 pyramid tiles in the region where you are. You can do it simultaneously if you want. It really doesn't matter. You really don't have to.
It might matter, in which case you do have to go from lowest to highest.
Lowest to highest
Region. So
yes,
number
lowest numbered
1,
region. Yes, so
2,
you go
3,
1,
4.
2, 3, 4.
There are some abilities that you can get that take from adjacent regions.
Oh, that's right.
So you
You
can
are
snag
correct.
something that somebody else might get.
So, then we're going to move on to the action phase, starting with the player whose ruler is in the lowest numbered region and moving around. Each player is going to take a single turn. The first thing you're going to do is to place a worker. Your workers look like this. They've got little shields. or little backpacks or whatever. I'm not even sure exactly what it is. So you're going to put one of those workers in any city adjacent to the region containing your ruler. So Steph could choose any of these four cities. I could choose normally any of these cities. However, since Steph kicked me out of the region, I cannot choose any of these cities that border the region I was kicked out of. So I cannot put my workers in any of these three cities. So keep that in mind. If you get kicked out, yeah, you get a weapon, but you're not able to place. You might not be able to place where you want to place. So Steph is going to place a worker. Then, if you have at least one worker in each city surrounding that region, you get to build this building for free. You don't have to pay the the resources at the top of the tile. You just build it in the first spot on your pyramid track. You have to build these from left to right. And then you're going to get whatever bonus that you cover up. And then for the rest of the game, you will have access to this ability. The iconography in this game is quite heavy, fair warning, but everything is laid out for you in the rule book. It might take a little while to find what the iconography is, but each of the buildings, I believe, are described
Yep, they are.
in one of the other books. I'm trying to look here
I'm pretty sure it's a rule
where
book.
those are, but yeah. Um, so the second thing that you can do. Oh, I should mention after you have built your fifth spot, you're going to get 7 points. I can't remember what happens on the sixth one. I remember something is eating away at my brain. Hopefully I will stumble across it here. Anyway, the second thing that Steph will do is to summon a god. After you've put your worker in a city, you can summon the god corresponding to that city to use the power offered by that god. Notice that there are two of each type. Uh, Steph has got two of the jaguar god of the underworld next to her. She's got a sun god down here in the corner, and she's got the god of trade, otherwise known as the smoking pipe god, over here on the side. You see why he looks like a smoking pipe god. The jaguar is easy to recognize. The sun god is easy to recognize with the different the spiky headdress. The jaguar is here. The rain god looks like he has a little thunderbolt. That's how I remember that one. And the chief god is the only one that doesn't really fit any of those other categories. Not the pipe god, not the rain god, not the sun god, not the jaguar.
Leftover.
He's the leftover god. So, um, the total number of tiles in your pyramid and or that you discard from your reserve, which is everything else that you have and not yet built, um, that is going to be uh, the action strength of your summoning. If you decide to summon the god, you're going to count the number of pyramid tiles that are in your pyramid on your player board that matches that god. Uh, if I wanted to discard this tile also matches that chief god. But I would have to place it, I would have to place my worker in that chief god city. Notice I don't have one of those in my region. So I'm going to be out of luck as far as summoning a god if I've chosen region 5. So, um, you can summon a god using only discarded tiles if you don't have any matching tiles in your pyramid. Um, but if you don't have any matching tiles in your pyramid and you don't discard any, you just can't summon that god. The colors don't have to match. You can discard any of them as long as it shows that god's face. If your summoning does use a matching tile from your pyramid and you don't have one of your player markers at that god's temple, then you get to place one on the leftmost empty space of that temple. Now, these are little 3D pyramids. You guys cannot see the outsides very well, but we got the sun god down here, the chief god, the rain god, which is odd that it doesn't look like rain on the top. Um, the trading god of trade and the jaguar. There's also these little scoring things that will go into the tops of these pyramids. But so you guys can see them, we have placed them next down below each of the pyramids, and in this case over to the side, just so you can see what these are without them being stuck into the top of these 3D pyramids. So let's say that I did summon the chief god somehow because I went to a different region. I would put my little marker here, and then I would get 2 points.
Only if it's in your pyramid.
Only if you have used a matching tile from your pyramid, not if you discard tiles. Now, I can discard the tile and summon the god. That's no problem. But if I have a matching tile in my pyramid, I wouldn't have to discard any tiles. I could, but I wouldn't have to. And I qualify for that. Now, what does that give me? That will allow me for this era, so to speak. I'll explain a little bit more about that in a minute. That will allow me to get bonus points for this temple scoring. So this for this down here, I'm going to get, I'm going to qualify for some sort of scoring. Let's talk about those god powers in detail. Remember, the action strength when you summon a god is equal to the number of tiles in the pyramid or the number of tiles you discarded of that god. So if you have one in your pyramid and you discard one, then that's going to be an action strength of 2. So the colors of the tiles that you use to summon are typically going to influence how you may use that god's power. So, what does the chief god do? You will choose any of the colors that you used in your summoning. Then, for every action strength, you're going to take a pyramid tile of that color from the bag. The pyramid tiles are all these square tiles.
From the board or wild from the bag.
Oh, sorry. Take a pyramid tile of that color or wild from any region on the board or draw at random. So let's say that I used blue, then I could take this wild here or this blue one here. Now, it doesn't matter that it's the sun god here. I can take any blue tile as long as I had a blue tile here or I discarded a blue tile. And I can take it from anywhere on the board. Now, if Steph wanted to deplete this region of everything, then she could do so. But remember what you had said about taking tiles during the movement phase is when you take the tile. Action phase is when you do this ability.
Right.
So you can't really deplete that before I take my movement tile.
Right.
Action.
No.
Right. So
Yeah.
now when you draw a tile from the bag, whatever color you get out does not matter. It's just going to be a random one. And it can be good to help you get colors that you don't have. So that can be helpful. Now, the rain god is Chak. Oh, the chief god was Itzamna. Rain god is Chak. Select a production side of a color that you used in your summoning that is adjacent to any city and move it to the next empty space on the calendar track. So, um, so let's say that I used blue. I could take one of these blue ones and move this up to the calendar track.
Provided you had a guy here or here.
Yes, that no, it says adjacent to any city.
That you have a guy?
Select a production side of a color used in your summoning that's adjacent to any city.
Okay. But I guess that doesn't make it
I
harder.
I don't know. Let me read through it again.
Okay.
The I got to mention the rules leave a little something to be desired, but I'm gonna go through it. Um, for each action strength, gain one resource of that color if there are no production sites matching the color of at least one tile used in your summoning adjacent to any cities you cannot summon this god. So yes, any city.
Okay.
The reason they say adjacent to any city, if these are both gone up here, you can't take this and leapfrog.
Right,
It
right.
has to be adjacent to a
Has to be
city.
on the
It
map.
has to be on the board.
Okay.
So
So
yes, it does not matter
if
if it's
it's here.
adjacent to your city.
Okay, that makes more sense.
So the god of trade, otherwise known as the smoking pipe god. For each action strength, you may move one of your workers from any city to an adjacent city. So let's say I've got two workers here. I can move one of them out to another city. Actually, it probably makes more sense. Yeah, I'm on both. I'm on the smoky pipe guy. Move them to an adjacent city. Um, and let me see here. You can move the same worker more than once in the same summoning. So if I had two action strength, I could move one guy twice or two guys once. Um, as long as you don't visit any city more than once during the summoning. So he could not go back here with that same summoning. After you finish moving the workers, if you still have one worker, if you have one worker in each region adjacent, remember the rule still applies. Once you fully surround the region, you're going to get the free building tile. Now, notice those building tiles will not regenerate. Once those are taken, they are gone for good from the game. They are in. They are built next to your pyramid. Um, choose a color. This is in addition. Choose a color used in your summoning. Each time you move a worker with this power, you may also swap a resource from your personal supply for a resource of another color from the supply. For each swap you make, either the one you trade for or the one you trade out must be that color. So I could take my resources, none of which are blue. I could trade this white for a blue. Then, if I had a second action strength, I could trade this blue for a yellow. And that's what it would take for me to get a pair of yellows because I don't have a pair of anything right now. Or I would need to do a yellow action strength, and then I could trade both of mine, both my limestone and my cacao for two corn, and I'd have three corn at that point. Much more efficient to do it with the correct color. The fourth god is the sun god, Kinich Ahau. For each action strength, you may take back into your hand any one of your discarded or played cards, region or roll cards. At the start of the game, we've laid out three roll cards. It's number of players plus one. Um, I believe those go face up, Steph.
No.
No, they do not. Oh, because you can look at them when you
When
get the chance to play them.
you choose
Got
one
it.
when you
So, um, also, you may lay down one of your workers in a city that is adjacent to a production site, matching the color of any tile you used in your summoning. So, um, if I had this guy standing up here, there it's a both of these are adjacent. Well, let's say I went here because this is the sun god. It is adjacent to blue. So if I had summoned the sun god with a blue tile, I could lay this dude down. Now, what does laying down a guy mean? That guy now counts as two workers, not just one. Uh, if you had two workers on a site like this, you see they're both two workers standing up on a site, I cannot choose automatically without doing anything. I can't just make change like that. That's not how it works. The sun god lets you lay one of these guys down, and now he's worth double. Now, remember the god of trade that lets you move dudes around? If I move this laid down dude, I am moving them together as one strength. Now, he's still worth 2, but he only costs 1 movement strength in order to do that. If for some reason you need to remove one of your workers for a reason, yes, you can stand this guy back up, and now he's worth 1. So that is the only time that you can break up workers like that. You can't move half of your worker,
Right.
but you can take away that half of the worker. It's a little bit confusing until you get into it a little bit. Finally, the Jaguar, god of the underworld, remove one of your workers from any city adjacent to a production site, matching the color of any pyramid tile that you used for summoning, and return it to your play area. Again, if I had my guy here, I'm adjacent to blue, so if I discarded a blue Jaguar, I could remove this worker. Then I get to gain 1 fame for every action strength. So if it was an action strength of 2, 2 points for me. That's awesome. But I've lost that worker from that spot. In addition, you may advance 1 space on the might track and gain the reward. Obviously, these rewards get better the further you go to the top. This 10th space, worth 7 points, might be worth doing. Instead of removing a worker, you could stand one of your laid down workers back up. That's one of the reasons why you might want to take a laid down worker and stand it up.
To
And that would count.
maintain control of that space.
Yes. If you can't remove a worker or you can't stand a worker up, you cannot summon the Jaguar God. I should mention there is an Ahau family rules. Everything in this light blue text refers to the family version of this game. We are not reading any of those rules. We are just, like how Agricola has Agricola family. They have an Ahau family rules version, but we are playing the full game version. So, step one is place a worker. Step 2, summon a god, and that is optional. Step 3 is also optional. It's the produce or build phase. You may produce or you may build, but not both. If you choose to produce, select a production site that's adjacent to where you put your worker. Let's say I put my worker here. I could choose either this white or this blue site. What or this yellow site? Thank you, Steph. Even though this is not near region 5, it's adjacent to the worker. I may choose any of those for each of your workers in any cities adjacent to that production site. Gain 1 resource. So I could gain 1 white or 1 blue or 1 yellow. But if for some reason I had done this previously, I could get 1 white or 1 blue or 2 yellow.
Seems better.
Seems a little bit better. Then remove that production tile, put it on the calendar track. The calendar track ticks off the steps until we get to the end of each era. And the end of those eras is called the Katoon Celebration. So, and that's when we will score for temples and everything else. So, now, what does it mean when there's nothing left next to this site? Then that means that resource is depleted. If both of the yellows are gone, then whenever you do something that's related to yellow production tiles being there, guess what? They're not there anymore. And Steph does a pouty face. Hmm. Instead of producing resources, you could build pyramid or building tiles on your player board. Yeah, and you can build up to as many tiles as you have workers in the city into which you placed your worker. So let's say I placed here on the sun god. I activated the sun god and laid this guy down. Now he counts as 2 workers. Hey, Elevation Games, how's it going? I just laid this guy down, so I have 2 strength of stuff, right? I could build 2 tiles. I could build 2 pyramid tiles. I could build a pyramid tile and a building tile. In order to build a pyramid tile, I have to have one of the pyramid tiles in my hand. It could be whatever color or whatever god that I want. I can place it somewhere on the bottom level, and it's going to cost me one resource, one whole resource. Notice all of the ones on the bottom require one resource. If I want to build on the second level, I have to have both of the ones underneath it built, and I have to discard two different resources for the second level. If in order to build on the third level, you need three different resources and everything built below it. And to build on top, you have to have everything else built underneath it, and you have to have four different resources. So you'll also get whatever bonus is on the tile, whether it be victory points or using a roll card, or what is the a might, the little shield and weapons is moving up the might track. So many different things that you can get on by building pyramid tiles. Or you could build a building tile. There are currently two out for offer, and this is going to move to the left and a new one placed next to it as time moves on. If you want to build these, it's going to cost a certain number of resources. This takes 2 water and a cacao and an obsidian. And if you get that, this ability will be available to you for the rest of the game. You will also get 1 or 2 points for building if you build them early on. If this tile had scooched over to here, you will need one fewer resource to build anything in this position. Whenever paying for things with resources, you can always take two identical resources to be one resource of any other type, or you can discard two god tiles of the same color. Is it of the same color? Let me
Yes.
double check.
If you discard 2 yellows, you get a yellow.
Oh, does it have to be that type?
Yes.
I'm trying to find out where that little reminder is. Resources. Spend 2 resources of the same color to gain one of a different color, or discard 2 pyramid tiles of any one color to gain one of the same color. So you are correct. If I discard two yellow pyramid tiles, I can get one yellow resource. You cannot discard two of a resource to get a pyramid tile of a certain color. It doesn't work that way.
That'd be nice.
That would be nice, but you can't do that. Um, so yeah, each building tile will grant an ongoing power that takes effect as soon as it is built. You can have 5 at any one time. If you already have 5 and you want to build another, you may replace one of your tiles, returning it to the box. You have to spend the resources. You do not get the bonus underneath. That would be nice if I could just take that fifth one and discard it and put one down and get another 7 points. But no, that's not how it works. You're basically just replacing.
By that point, the game's probably pretty much over anyway.
Yes, for sure. The last thing you will do on your action step is to discard and or redraw. Discard any remaining cards that you played this round by placing them in your discard pile to the side of your player board. Those are open information. If for some reason my 5 and 6 are out, Steph will know my 5 and 6 are out and unavailable. If you now have fewer than 2 cards remaining in your hand, and fewer than 2 would mean 1 or 0, or if for some reason you only have 2 cards numbered 6 in your hand, yes, this can happen. If one of these roll cards is a 6, these roll cards can also be used whenever you're playing your cards for your move before the movement phase. There are 6 different roll cards. They are numbered from 1 to 6.
They do great things.
They vary in power. What is this brown?
I think it's for maybe the solo or something. The AI.
I gotcha. When all players have completed their action phase, the round will end. Replenish the pyramid tiles on the board. Those are the square ones. Uh, Discard the building tile on the left if there is one. There's not one at the start of the game. Slide everything over. Draw a new one to go onto the rightmost space. And if this has filled up to the covering the 2-player mark, we do a Katoon celebration. Or if you're playing 3 players, if the 3-player mark is covered up, we're going to do what's called a Katoon celebration. If the bag of pyramid tiles ever becomes empty when you are putting out new pyramid tiles, return any discarded ones back to the bag and shuffle them up and keep drawing until everything is gone. If there's not enough remaining to fill everything, then just leave the remaining. Oh, with the building tiles, just leave the remaining slots empty. Let's talk a little bit about the end of a Katoon, which is when we do our Katoon celebration. Yay! We will score each temple in turn. Each player who has a player marker at a temple will earn fame points based on the god scoring tile at that temple. Now, here is the most controversial rule that is in this game. I am going to score based on this tile, not on how I do, but how anybody has done at the table. Let me repeat that again. Let's say I'm the only one here, and Steph has a whole. Let's see, what is? Let me see. Every 2 spaces on the mic track. Let's say Steph has made it all the way there. I've not even tried to move up this track. Excuse me. This God scoring tile says for every 2 moves up the mic track, then you're going to get 1 point. It doesn't matter how far I've gone up the mic track. Somebody at the table has gone up the mic track to a 10. I'm going to get 5 points. If Steph were also here, Steph would also get 5 points. It doesn't matter that she came in after I did. It doesn't matter if I came in after she did. And it doesn't matter how far I went up the track. We both get 5 points. Now that's not going to be terribly helpful in a 2-player game, because if we're both getting the same number of points, regardless of how good that we each individually fulfilled this, it doesn't matter. There is a variant that you can use where you are personally responsible for how much you advance on the track. So, yeah, some Ansec says those are super fair points. I mean, it's identical points, unfortunately.
If we manage to get on the temples, it's not exactly easy to get on.
It's
temples.
not easy. Remember, you have to activate a god that is in your temple.
Yeah.
So, and it's like I say, there are reasons to focus on one god in your temple. Remember, your action strength gets higher, and I didn't mention the scoring I should mention the scoring that you also get if you match things up. I'll get to that in just a second. So yeah, it's not easy, but the designers realize that some people don't enjoy having the same number of points regardless of how you personally contributed to that scoring tile. So they have created the personal scoring variant where it's the player's own performance is how you score. Let me rewind real quick about the pyramid tiles. When you build that pyramid tile, you are going to get, oh, where is it? You are going to get a certain number of points based on where you place. Oh, I should also mention, now I have really fumbled this part of the rules. Let's say I'm building this blue sun tile. If I place this down here, remember I give up 1 resource. It must match this color. it must be blue. If it's a wild like this, it doesn't matter what color it is because I am placing it in as blue. Now, here's the catch. I now have to say this is a blue tile. It is no longer wild once I've placed it.
Right.
It's whatever resource I spent. If I am building this wild on the second tier and I spend blue and yellow, I could make it either blue or yellow. Now, why does it matter what it is? Well, uh, I'm going to get a number of points based on whether the gods next to it are identical or the colors next to it are identical. So let's say I build this blue next to this blue. They are different gods, but I'm going to score points because the blue I have one blue tile next to it. So I'm trying to find where that is in the rules, but I
Yeah.
believe I gain one fame for each adjacent tile of the same color and one fame for each adjacent tile depicting the same symbol, the same god symbol.
So if he then put a blue on top of it, they'd get 2 points, and then if the picture matches,
Matter of fact, if I had put this blue sun god right here, I'm gonna get 1, 2 for the blue and 1 for the sun god.
3 points.
3 bonus points in addition to whatever I've covered up.
Yeah.
So that is super important to know how to score those. So it's been about a month since I played, so I apologize for calling out some of these rules a little bit out of turn. So, Katoon Celebration, score the temples. Then for each city, award 2 fame if you have majority in the city. If there's a tie for the most, all tied players get 1. Now, if I've got a laid down guy here and Steph has a standing up guy here, remember, mine is worth 2, hers is worth 1. So I'm going to get majority in the city. I'm going to get 2 points. Hey, thanks, Semantics. Semantics says, really love the look of this game, even if the 2-player points is a bit wonky. Well, it could be that way for 3-player or 4-player as well, which is why they have come up with the personal scoring variant. We are going to play rules as written this time, just to show you guys how it works. The third thing you do for a Katoon celebration, if a player has completed their pyramid or placed their last worker, or if 3 Katoons have passed, those trigger the end of the game. The game will end. If for some reason that we complete our pyramid, we know it's going to be the last turn. Even if we haven't hit the 3rd Katoon, spoiler alert, it's going to hit the 3rd Katoon before we build that pyramid. I'm just telling you. Putting the workers out might possibly happen before the 3rd Katoon, but it's not terribly likely because we've got a good handful of workers here. And remember, every time we deplete a region, the tiles go up here and it rushes the. Yeah, we need tiles.
We need resources.
We need tiles. We need resources. So that's going to push the game along rather quickly. So keep that in mind. Those are the 3 end conditions. Fill this up. Fill up the workers into the 3rd Katoon. Now, let's say that we miraculously put all of our workers before we even do our 1st Katoon. Do a Katoon celebration, then in the game.
Yep.
That's how it works. Obviously, if we've done the 3rd Katoon, we don't do a 4th Katoon celebration. Even if we've done the pyramid and whatever, there's a maximum of 3 Katoon celebrations. So after that, we're going to proceed with the next Katoon by moving this tracker down. We're going to remove all of the production site tiles from the calendar track. We're going to shuffle them up. We're going to distribute things out. And you remember, there's going to be one left. It's going to go back up here. Return your player markers from the temples to the players. So keep in mind, I went there, I scored this, I don't get to stay there, I get kicked back out, and I've got to go worship that god all over again. And finally, start a new round with the movement phase. Putting out the cards, putting your guys in the regions, lather, rinse, repeat. Until the end of the 3rd Katoon or the end of the game is triggered. Um, the person with the most fame wins the game and is crowned Kuhula Hal. In the case of a tie, whoever's built the most pyramid and or building tiles wins. And in the case of a further tie, share the victory.
No.
So yeah, there are a lot of building tiles. Um, I believe that there is something that I looked at that had everything in order, or else these are placed in order, and I can't remember
Yeah, it
which.
tells you right there.
Yeah, I thought so too, but I'm not seeing it there. Oh, the numbers are up in the
And on
corners.
the
Yeah.
tiles.
Yeah. So you'll notice things will go in the rule books. It'll say tile 15. There's a little white number in the corner. 15, 16, 17, 19. It's not that they're skipping tiles. It's just that they're, I believe, 17 and 18 are the same. So keep that in mind whenever you're looking at these building tiles in the book. Remember, like I said, the iconography is quite heavy, but you can usually figure out what all everything is going for. Now, the first time you build on the pyramid or building tile spaces that show this little question mark, you get to select one of these roll cards, look at them, and add one to your hand. And then put the other ones face down next to the game board. Each roll card will have a number and a special ability. Then have numbers from 1 to 6. Um, and that's going to give you some kind of special power. There is a shadow player mode that can be used with a 2, 3, or 4 player game that will increase the competition and kicking each other out and advancing up the might track. So keep that in mind if you want to play with the shadow player mode. We don't have that set up right now, but keep in mind that you can actually play with that to increase the conflict on a all the way up to a 4 player game. And it does change about a page worth of rules. There is a solo mode inside. It's actually got six pages worth of solo rules. So it sounds like it changes it quite significantly. We have not played the solo mode, but I know that there's a lot of people out there that enjoy solo gameplay. All right.
Well, that was pretty thorough rules there. So we're gonna cut this and do the teach video. And if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, we're also gonna have a playthrough that you can find. I'll put it in below, in the below area.
In the below, in the
Yes.
comment below.
So hopefully you enjoyed that teach, and we will be right back.
Well, if you enjoyed this teach and you want to see more just like it, then hey, come join us on twitch.tv/boardgamersteph every Wednesday and Sunday at 5 p.m. Central, where we play 3 games every single stream. Yep. So yeah, come join us on Twitch where we play all the games.
That's right.
And now,
for those on Twitch, we will be right back with the playthrough.
And if you're on YouTube or on Board Game Geek, hey, find that playthrough video and we'll show you.
Click it. All right, we'll be right back.